Step on up, sit down, twist off that bottle top or crack open that can, and welcome to Porch Matters. This is Terry Cagle coming to you from my back porch. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am, the name of this show is authentic. On Porch Matters, our saying is this: big issues or just a friendly conversation, no topic is off limits. We take pride in being able to talk about anything with each other in an open discussion. Open discussion is one of the only ways to learn. Your perspectives could be changed. You could change the perspective of others. Friends and family, welcome to another episode of Porch Matters. I'm glad you're here. I want to thank all of you for listening first off. Of all the things that you can give someone, time is the one thing that you can't get back. I hope you enjoy the show. If this is your first time listening, I hope you like, follow, or subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to me on. On this episode, there is no guest. It's just me and you. I've had a couple of different conversations lined up the past couple of weeks, but we just couldn't get anything together. I won't name any names until I get the conversations recorded, but I'm really hoping we can get them done soon. I believe you'll enjoy them. I've reached out to some others, still waiting to hear from them, really trying hard to bring you some good, interesting conversations. I know that my strong suit is not episodes where it's just me. I know I do better whenever I have somebody to talk to, but sometimes it is what it is. This Tuesday in Alabama is primary voting day. I hope everyone listening to this in Alabama has done their research on each candidate and the one Alabama constitutional amendment on the ballot this time. If you haven't done any research on the amendment, let's talk about it real quick. On the sample ballot, the amendment reads as follows. Quote, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Alabama of 2022 to amend Section 7101 authorizing the legislature to sign and transmit local laws or constitutional amendments before the transmission of basic operations. Now, what does all that lawyer language mean, you might ask? In doing a little research, before the state legislature can look at any kind of bills or business, they have to approve budgets. To get around this, the legislature passed a budget isolation resolution, or a BIR, that requires a supermajority vote to move forward. I still have no idea how big a supermajority vote is, but considering the name, I would just about bet it's almost unanimous. From my research, this amendment would allow the legislature to skip this to allow local bills to be addressed immediately. Hopefully this helps you out come Tuesday. I'm a firm believer that we all need to vote. If you don't like how things are going, this is your chance to change it. On a personal note, I always go to the voting polls and vote in person. That way the workers can see me, see my driver's license to prove that I am me, check my name on the voter's roll, and check me off in the voting system saying I showed up to vote just in case someone else tries to vote under my name. I highly suggest to everyone that you vote in person as well. I had a really good service at church today. A retired pastor that I have a lot of love and respect for, Pastor Lane Sargent, brought a really good word today. If you're in the vicinity of Jasper, Alabama, and are currently looking for a good church with an authentic pastor who is trying to lead the right way, here are 4 churches that I'll suggest for you where I know the pastors personally, and this list is not in any particular order. Number 1, Life Springs Church on Highway 195 right before 5 Points where 195 and 257 meet. Stephen Moore is the pastor there, and I've known him for about 25 years. He's a good man doing everything he can do to do things the right way. Number 2 would be Freedom Assembly on Highway 257. James Grace is the pastor there, and I've known James for around 30 years. James actually taught me how to play drums when I was a teenager. another good man who is doing everything he can to do things the right way. Abundant Life Church would be coming in at number 3, and it's just east of Carbon Hill on Highway 78. Rodney Thompson is the pastor there. I've known Rodney for almost 25 years. Although we haven't been able to hang out as much as we used to, I still call him friend. He has a story that needs to be shared on this podcast, and I've reached out to him before to come on the show, and he has agreed to it. We just got to get it done. He's a man that wears a lot of hats, and he's also another good man who's doing everything he can to do things the right way. Last but not least, Cornerstone Assembly on Highway 195 in Thatch between Double Springs and Jasper. Parker Darnell is now the pastor there. Parker's been there for about 7 months now. On a personal note, this is the first time in my life that I've ever called someone younger than me my pastor. Still getting used to that, but the more I get to know him, the more I think highly of him. He's a good man and has a good vision for the church, and I'm looking forward to seeing the good things that God has in store there. There was a time not too long ago that I talked about how churches these days were almost a poor man's country club. How there were pastors that weren't doing it for the right reasons. I still believe that. But the men who I've just talked about are real, they're authentic, and they're not just doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it because this is what God has called them to do, and they're trying to do their best to be obedient. Personally, I've been trying to do a lot myself. I've been trying to do a lot of growing, a lot of reflecting, a lot of praying. And I was doing some reading today, and I'd actually like to share a little bit about what's on my mind. I've been trying to get back into the habit of at least reading a devotional every day. The one I'm reading right now is called Strength for Today for Men by Broad Street Publishing. I picked it up at a Pilot truck stop. So far, I'm enjoying it. Today's scripture was actually for John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. I'm going to read it to you from the Amplified Bible. No particular reason why I'm picking the Amplified Bible, other than that's just one of my favorite versions. Starts out by saying, this is Jesus talking, by the way. I am giving you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, so you too are to love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love and unselfish concern for one another. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how does this relate to porch matters? Well, give me just a few minutes and I'll get there. There again, this episode's not going to be too long, so just give me a couple of minutes. In this particular scripture, Jesus is talking to his disciples and giving them, and of course us, what appears to be simple instructions. But it's not always simple or easy to do, is it? Read this part again. Just as I loved you, so too you are to love one another. Now let's look at that for just a second, that word love. In this particular scripture, the word here is agape. If my memory serves me correctly, there's another scripture in John that we all should know called John 3:16 that uses the same word. Do you know it? Come on now. I know you do. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Does that ring a bell? Okay. It's the same word. Most consider agape the highest form of love. Agape love shows empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. You want the best for others. You offer help or demonstrate good intentions. All of this is easy to do with some people. not so easy to do with others sometimes. These days, a lot of people blackball others who just have a different opinion. Just because someone doesn't think exactly the way you do doesn't mean you can't show them love like Jesus is speaking of here. It's okay to agree to disagree. I'll go a step further. You can still love a person and not agree with things they do or believe. How does this tie back to Porch Matters? Most of the time, I have people on this show that are usually in agreement on most things with me. But there have been several times in the past where that hasn't necessarily been the case. When this show first started, I had two friends on here with me that I knew and loved, and I still do to this very day. But both of them had completely different stories than me and looked at things differently than I did. That gave them a different perspective. There were things that we disagreed on almost every episode while we were together, and that's okay. There is no one person walking this earth identical. I'm going to say that again just in case you didn't hear me. There is no one person walking this earth identical. Even identical twins are a little bit different than the other. It's okay not to agree with everyone on everything. Being different is okay. But don't disrespect and not show love to people just because you don't agree with them. Always do your best to show love and respect. You never know, just because somebody comes at something with a different perspective. Just like I say in the open, that could change your perspective on things. That just happened here recently with me and one of my best friends. I'm not going to go into the conversation because that was private. And I'm not even going to tell you their name. That's private too. But in the context of it, we were talking about a certain topic that is very controversial to most. And this friend came to me with a different perspective of it, and it changed my perspective in a lot of ways towards it. And it made me love and respect that friend of mine even more because of it. So that friend knows who they are. And if they are listening, thank you. That's about all I've got tonight, other than the fact that it is an absolutely beautiful night. Frogs chirping. There's dew coming off the porch right here off the edge, just dripping down. Surprised you can't hear it. It's one of those nights where you could literally just sit here and just get lost in your head. Fog's rolling in, so you can't really see much. I really love sitting out here, and I really love talking to you too. I hope you enjoy listening to what I have to say. I really hope you enjoy listening to the conversations that I have with others and try to share with you. Really hope you get something out of this, not just listening to words. Because I really love doing this for you. I know it's probably not what you were hoping for, but there again, I hope you liked it. And once again, I got some good guests lined up, and I'm going to work real hard to get those conversations recorded so I can share them with you. If you were new to the show and you liked what you hear, please hit that like, subscribe, or follow button and download the episodes in the archives. If this show has been a positive addition to your life, please rate the show and leave a review. It won't take you but a minute, and it sure would help the show. Please find the show on social media by typing in Porch Matters Podcast into the search bar. Word of mouth is still the best way of sharing. Please pick your favorite episode and share it with at least one person this week. If you've done it before, please do it again. There are a lot of people out there that have never heard of a podcast before, and it's 2024. I sure would appreciate it. If you watch YouTube on a regular basis, please go and click that subscribe button. Share it with a friend of yours. Every episode that we've done, every one of the ones in the archives are there. If you would, help us out. I guess I'm talking about me and friend here in my pocket. Help me out and help the rest of the listeners here spread the word. I sure would appreciate it. And I'll see you next time right here on Porch Matters.